Dhuma nevaroya square uchisema vedzinza rako ucharoya chete iwewe ucharoya chete uchisema vedzinza rako ucharoya chete. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And so Mira. I've got a lot to do. Exactly 8 o'clock. Let's tag more people. Yesterday I had a problem. People came late and they were saying, why? Let's continue and this and that. So it's very unfortunate that we need to start early. So before we start, please make sure that a lot of people are tagged. I think people have seen a video that I posted today on my Facebook. Pachishona vanoti iriva ringe rakatewa kubatwa mbeva, but iwewe ukazofunga kuti uda kudya chese chese unobatwa iwewe riva risina kuteerwa. Iwewe riva ndirembeva asi pari kubatwa shiri iri kudzvanywa neriva, bozi yanopinda muriva and ikatanga kuda kudhobora chibage chakaiswa muriva unobva yavharirwa neriva. Saka video yandaisa ineka meaning. Sorry, nhasi we are on a group Zoom church. No worries, Atete, you can listen later on. I'm just talking about the aftermath of the Nare rebellion. So we are just waiting for other people to come, just to tag more people. Anzitaura mwana mai pakaipa mkoma loko makadi mkoma try zviri kufamba witini chifoja zviri kufamba Archibald zviri sei William zviri kudini mwana mai. I'm waiting for Eddie Duve. Anyone who knows Eddie Duve, please tag him. Eddie yesterday came late, or he didn't come at all. Eddie was accusing me of Shepherd. I didn't watch you yesterday. You were not there, I was there. And Ribo, most of these videos are now episode 1, episode 2, episode 3 are now on YouTube. So you can subscribe on Shepherd Yuda YouTube and you can go watch, you can go listen again to that. Andrikuda Moresu Maswanda Weko Brown Ziri say mwana mai Funny maz, how are you? Tinotenda stole wana stole ndana sekuru kana wana maini nai Christopher Ziri say manyiga true sekuru masquerade sekuru stole T Anita T zitaura tinzwa mzanzi ndauya kuzokurukura nai pakaipa ipapapa chigwamuse shine zviri sei mkoma shapiro ndakasimba ngoma den as you that what entered my young brother Vuka briefly called fit, not called fit, he has been busy. Nas time ipi mkoma andichangushika ndiyoyo 200 hours UK time baba kanjani Charles Mondi zviri kufamba ri baba progress anyamandi tauya kuzonzwa sure Jim and George zviri sei mwana wamai asi takaterera sikumbuso banda tinashe ti pamire zviri sei hanzi matombo tinomakanda nai kana matombo tinokanda pakaipa Atete Mildred, love you so much. Zavi chidavanyika zviri sei Constance Kinen, salute to the front, salute, check on 2, to the up, to the down, to the 10, left and left. James Makumba zviri kufamba sei muri yakasimba mwana wamai Tepsula move Antini Pretoria yapinda yadira nai tikumirira namba nezuro vanhu vakazopopota wakasira kupedza vamwe wakasira kutanga. I came late yesterday because phone was not charging, but guess what? UK yakanaka nai Mike Gombo zviri sei driver wami Wizi kwaramba zviri kufamba here. UK yakanaka. I was tipped by someone to go buy this thing. This thing cost £20. This thing hapana chaunomboisa chinoboila on this thing. It's Wi-Fi controlled. It's Wi-Fi controlled. So I bought this thing for £20 kundicharge phone yangu. This one. This thing chakaipa, it's Wi-Fi controlled. If I tell it press up a Wi-Fi, if I tell it to stop charging, it stops charging. I don't know how it was made. So nice. Benji ziri say one of my Berita Matari Mapurisa. Salute. I salute you all. So someone texted me and said, go buy that thing, Shepherd. Wapeza nyaya. Anzi nya yenyu ya chidumo is also on YouTube. Mkoma. Yes, yes. Atetelin zviri kufamba tapiwa nashe mukai Berta, watching you from Cape Town, Shapiro. Thank you so much. Tiri kutandara panapa naye atapinda mapinda atete plantisi zimuto azikurise chibaba kwakanaka chando chete. Thanks brother Andy enaro rwendo tunofamba tete Julie and chakanaka true ndinacho. Thank you so much. I bought it £20 and someone told me to go buy this, and this solve everything. You can achichi it ukanoka sachi chinopisa pa achichi anditi manzwa mutimu andiri kuda changu chiri kulidu, and this was the only thing that was left kulidu. Chine Wi-Fi, if you press here you control kana light, you control light in Wi-Fi rinobvira rakagarawo. I don't know how this thing was made. I don't even know. And are you sure he's posting 2023 suggestions? Yes, he has been. Vuka owns his own company. So, with the lockdown and so forth, yes, fighting to float. He's a businessman. He was fighting to float. And I think he's still struggling to float. So, let's be with him. Let's pray for him. Kuti zvinake. Hanzi muriseko ndi abino zvada akurise abi zviri kufamba plaxity zimut hanzi mutitengero mukoma. It's a bit expensive, cost £20. Anyway, that's fine. We need history formation of MDC. Ndakataura history formation of MDC kudara. You just came late to the platform. When this platform started, we were embarking mostly on the formation of MDC. Sagama videos, I think they are there on YouTube or on my platform. You can revisit them. Episode 4 on Royata Kurova, Yuda Cape Town at Rusere Zirkfambar and Ruchidaw. It cost about £20. This is very nice. Achichi, Kanoga Loda say Achichi. Even the material that this thing is made up of, it doesn't achisarend. And you can get it on Amazon, I think. And Madi blessings Zurufamber, Nyamos Zurufamber, Mkomatin, Roger Chadenga. Salute, Roger confirm Chadenga. Zurufamber one of my tea Anita. And kuda che present, all right, at it. Ndazinzo. Shane, zviri sei. Anzi na kevi, yuda tashika, mapinda. Stuart Nyamshire. Munum tema, black man, Freddy Jinga. Zurufamba Semo. Anzi, koma yuda. Tichavedu, the history. Evaswera ndaswera monoma. National show, Zirukdin. Anzi murise mkoma. Alus, Daus. So far, 96 people are watching from all 4 corners of the world. Saka, as soon as Mangoti on Tanga 92, numbers going down, some are getting out. Tanga, the aftermath of the Nari rebellion. So whilst people are coming in, so let's make a recap of episode 3 that we discussed yesterday. Episode 3, which ended at chapter 4 yesterday, which is episode 3. it ended with chapter 4. It was all about the 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦𝗓 rebellion. These people, they rebelled against the military high command of ZANU. When they rebelled against the high command of ZANU, Thomas Gnari and Baza, they took over control of the military high command. When they took over control of the military high command, they sat down with the likes of 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦𝗓𝗓. They told them what was at the front, what these guys were facing, the tough situation that they were fighting under. Surprisingly, all those who were saying they were in high command, they have never been at the front. They never saw the war being fought. They never went there to assist or to support the war veterans, the freedom fighters who were actually taking part in the fight. And it's like they were sending children to go and die. So as a result, Gnari and Baza, they sat down, they took the grievances of these freedom fighters, took them to Lusaka, sat down with the likes of 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦𝗓𝗓, told them that, look, our freedom fighters are struggling. They've got nothing to eat, nothing to wear, no good weapons to match the Rhodesian front. A lot of things, a lot of grievances were raised. Whilst 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦𝗓𝗓 and Kambani, they lived lavishly in Lusaka. Some of them were building houses. There were women and children were busy in expensive schools, whilst some people were dying in the bush. A lot of people died in the bush. So as a result, Gnari and Baza, they took over the command, military high command. They went to a base in Chifombo. When on their way to Chifombo, it was mentioned that they met a group of people who had rebelled. And those guys were led by a self-confessed enemy who was a state agent. But these guys executed him, took over all the recruits that he had taken over, because he had even destroyed the boats that were being used to cross Zambezi River into Mozambique. So this is the 𝗘𝗑𝗓𝗓 rebellion. Quite a lot of things happened. On their way to Chifombo, they met another group led by a CIO, and they stopped, they fought them, they captured the CIO, and they executed him. They proceeded to Chifombo, where they found Shebagawa drunk. And you know what? It was taboo to drink during the war. But Sheba, he was there drunk. And you know what they did? They just demoted him, took all those guys who were there, sent them to the front. Go and fight, guys. Some people are fighting in the bush. You are busy drinking, you are busy womanizing. You understand? So there's quite a lot of discontent during that time when Thomas Gnari and the Baza, they led this mutiny, they led an uprising against the ZANU High Command. So when they went back to Mozambique from Chifombo, that's when they said, okay, fine. They abducted certain individuals, including the likes of Kangai, 𝗘𝗣𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, and Vana, and so forth. They abducted them. And the Zambian police intervened, arrested them. Understand? So it looks as if the other group, which was disposed from their high command positions, they were working in cahoots with the Zambian police. They arrested the people who wanted to make, they wanted people to be accountable. Only Zambian police intervened. When Zambian police intervened, then Gnari and the Baza were arrested, although they later escaped from detention, but most of them were detained. Then what happened next? After that, this is the episode 4 that we're going to talk about the aftermath of this rebellion. A lot of people died during the rebellion. A lot of bad things happened, abductions and so forth. Quite a lot of things, sinister things occurred during that time. But what happened later on, Saka ndakataura nezuro ndikati nhasi, and I always say that the people who get the Liberation War hero status never went to the battlefield. They have never been to the 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦𝗢𝗓, if not mistaken, was the name of the former, I think so, Vitalis Zvinawach. They never went. Vitalis Zvinawach was never at the forefront. Never at the forefront. Most of these guys buried at the Heroes Acre, the likes of Tongogara, they were never at the forefront. They never went there. You understand? They were just frequenting Zambia, Mozambique, Zambia, Mozambique. They couldn't cross into the firing line. So they've never even been fired at. The likes of Opam Chinguri today, you call them heroes. They've never even tested gunfire. They don't even know. They don't even know how to hide. They were busy humanizing. You understand? So these guys, they've never been to the war front. Never in their life. And more. So today, these are the people who are being buried at the Heroes Acre. They've never been at the forefront. So these were the grievances, some of the grievances raised by the Badza, Thomas Nari, na Badza, kuti guys, ivanhu vari kufa musango. Amusitomboziva zviri kuitika. Hondo iri yakaipa. Futi dzamurutipa dzazibatsiri futi ma-AK. And these people's demands were met by heavy-handedness that almost derailed the struggle war. Or it prolonged the struggle war. So let's see what was the aftermath. Chapter 5, episode 4. The aftermath of the Nari rebellion. Recapture of Chifombo by High Command. Yeah. Ndakati nezuro vane misodzi iri padhuze. This chapter 5 episode 4 inogona kupa kuti ucheme kana usina moyo wakasimba. Hanzi zvakaoma. We never known about Badza and Nari. Tongonzwa vana muchekadzafa. Vana muchekadzafa ndo vama hero now. Ndo vakuswa pa Heroes Acre. Vana Perenzi Shiri. Unonyatsoona kuti mbavha chete ndo dzarara pa Heroes Acre. I think this is why Robert Mugabe refused to be buried at the Heroes Shrine. Bodagezi, Elliot Manyika, who have never been in the front. Ndo vamuti mahero muchiradzika pa Heroes Acre. Zvazvichimbavha naye. Ladies and gentlemen. So let's hear the aftermath. And that's why they didn't know how to act when bad decisions were being made. Up to today, they don't know what to do. This is why they are even clueless. But zvidhakwa zvasara. Ukada kuona vanhu vasara vachiti zanu. All those are drunkards. All those are womanizers. I'm surprised kuti vakabata Kembo muhadhi vakamutsondera pasi nemuswe. But he's not the only one. Chiwenga zvino zvakurwana nakamerika kamwana kamerika ikai. You understand? Ari kubvuta vakadziva vanhu vachitsotsonya. That's ZANU-PF for you. That's ZANU-PF definitely. So the aftermath of Nari rebellion, they recaptured Chifombo. The High Command recaptured Chifombo after the Zambian police intervened. According to Tongogara's evidence, after the incidents of the 9th and 10th December 1975, the Dare decided that the situation should be normalized. A meeting was held at which all the 8 members were present. It examined the situation and found that John Mataure was guilty of conniving. As Mzaya Perez was the provincial commander for 𝗘𝗣𝗜. Yes, Kule. 𝗘𝗘𝗜 was not Zimbabwe. He was the provincial commander of 𝗘𝗘𝗜 in Mozambique, but they were never been at the front. No problem. They were operating Mozambique where it was safe. In 𝗘𝗘𝗜, they were never in Mozambique. Havana kupinda Zimbabwe. That's the problem. So most of these people we say commanders today They never went to the front. They were just operating vari kuMozambique, vachimhanya kunana Tete, kunana Chifombo, vachitenderera kunana Chibawawa, kwanzi kumagaga okuTanzania, but kunana Chibawawa ndoko vaitambira, kunana Chimoyo ndoko vaitambira. They never came to the front. They never went inside Zimbabwe to really see what fire means, baptism of fire. Some of them are tombozeri pfuti inorira kana uchiridzirwa pfuti inoti chi. Vandokundwa naShepherd. Ndotoziva kuti kana chiridzirwa pfuti inoti chi. Pakaipawo man. So a meeting was held at which the 8 members were present. It examined the situation and found that John Mataure was guilty of conniving at the actions of the rebels. According to Tongogara, some of the charges against Mataure were that the rebels got the Land Rover from Mataure, which they used to convey Ndangana and others to Chifombo. No mosha ya Mataure kuti motikari yake yakashandiswa kutakura wana Ndangana kuenda nawo kuChifombo. After that, a second charge yavena Mataure that when the rebels came to Lusaka on the 30th of November 1974, 3 of them slept at Mataure's home. Hans Tongogara lived in Lusaka during the war and wife was a nurse there. Definitely, he never crossed into Zimbabwe. And anymore. A third charge was that Mataure drove the rebels to Tongogara's house on the 9th of December 1974, where sporadic shootings occurred. For these reasons, it was decided that Mataure should be isolated from the public, and he was consequently taken to a ZANU-PF camp near Lusaka. There was conflicting evidence among ZANU leaders as to when orders were given for Mataure to be isolated. Tongogara said it was a decision of Dare, while Kangai said it was after the committee of 3 had interviewed him that the order was passed. However, the fact of his enforced isolation at the ZANU-PF farm was not in dispute before the commission. According to the evidence of some witnesses, Mataure was tied to a tree at this farm and tortured for several days by ZANU-PF members. As big up mdara abo research baba ndakasimba. Ndatara ndikati vanhu vane moyo vane hana nete. Apa, be careful. Ndona mwe muna achichema msodzi. Because when the decision to isolate Mataure was made by Tongogara, he was taken to a ZANU-PF farm outside Lusaka. He was tied on a tree and was tortured for several days. Mataure was tied to a tree at this farm and tortured for several days by ZANU-PF members. A committee of 3 consisting of Chitepo, Kangai, and Gumbo, Rugare Gumbo, the one who is alive today, was set up to investigate the circumstances of the uprising. This committee sat and carried out interviews, but according to the evidence of Kangai, it never concluded its proceedings and never produced a report. Another important decision taken by Dare and the High Command was to recapture Chifombo from the rebels. In aid of this strategy, it was decided to expedite the arrival of the reinforcement from the OAU, which had been applied for in November 1974, but which had not yet arrived owing to some delays. On the 19th of December, The reinforcement arrived. It was decided that Chifombo should be recaptured and that the whole operation should be led by Josiah Tongogara himself. As chief of defense, Badza and others who were ambushed on their way to Flerimo camp told Tongogara of the numerical strength, I think, numerical strength of Chifombo and how the sentries were posted. According to Tongogara and other witnesses, Chifombo was recaptured without resistance or casualty, but accounts of the takeover varied materially. Some witnesses before the commission said that 45 cadres died after the takeover of the camp by Tongogara. According to the evidence, Dakarai Badza, nephew Ndanga, and others were killed. Dakarai Badza, nephew Ndanga, and others, 43 others, they were killed when Chifombo was recaptured. These people were killed. After the recapture of Chifombo, Tongogara sent a message to his colleagues proposing a meeting of the Chimurenga General Council. At the same time, he dispatched a rescue team for the front, where it was believed Ndangana, Chimurenga, Nadaura Manzi, Tungamira and others would be executed on the 9th of January 1975. So it means, I'm going to read this again. And the report from Kanga Abude to destroy the evidence, yes. So let me read this part again. The part says, after the recapture of Chifombo, Tongogara and other witnesses, after the recapture of Chifombo, Tongogara sent a message to his colleagues proposing a meeting of the Chimurenga General Council. At the same time, he dispatched a rescue team to the front, where it was believed Ndangana, Chimurenga, Dauramanzi, Tungamirai, and others would be executed on the 9th of January 1975. The rescue team saved them, but according to reports, they had already gone through undesirable tortures. Others had escaped to Flerimo camps. So Tongogara had information that Ndangana, Chimurenga, Dauramanzi na Tungamirai nevamwe vakanga vatorwa kubva kuLusaka, they were going to be executed on the 9th of January 1975. So he sent soldiers to front to go and rescue them. And when they were rescued, it was believed some had escaped to join the Flerimo camp. But they were eventually rescued. On Tuesday, the 21st of January 1975, the following members of Dare arrived at Chifombo for the Chimurenga General Council meeting. Herbert Chitepo akasvikapo, Henry Hamadziripi akasvikapo, Rugare Gumbo akasvikapo, Kumbirai Kangai na Josiah Tongogara vakasvika. These guys, they formed Chimurenga General Council. They came for Chimurenga General Council meeting. They were members of the Dare. Mukuzei Mudzi was in Lusaka while Noel Mkono was out of the country. Mataure was already in detention. Both the Dare and High Command held a series of meetings preparatory to the trials. They wanted to kutonga vanhu ava. Chitepo himself was chairman of the Chimurenga General Council, which commenced sittings in the afternoon of Wednesday, the 22nd of January 1975. Chitepo opened the meeting, and according to witnesses before the commission, Tongogara then took the floor and read out the charges against those involved in the rebellion. And the following persons were named. Herbert Mahlava. They are not there. They are not named in here, Gogoanata. Most of those people we say, comrades, Mahovets Machi today, most of those guys were not there. They were not there. The likes of Idim Nangagwa was not there. The likes of Vanarofu Chwenga were not there. So it's simple now for people to really see what is ZANU-PF. Where was our president, Robert Gabriel Mugabe? I think by that time Mugabe was in prison, I think. Or I think he was in prison. But this is 1975. I think Mugabe was in prison. Or if he was not in prison, he was in Ghana teaching elsewhere. Enjoying with the Sali. Rex Aitaneze. Nongo was mentioned once in this when he wanted to be shot at a farm in Lusaka. He was mentioned once. Vanga vasina renga vanga vanhu vaingogarawo zvavo maofisi vana Rex Nongwa andidimona. Remember kuti Mai Mujuru was like a house girl watongogara. I still remember that. She was like a house girl watongogara. Most of them were young and being mujibas, most of them. That's true. So muna ane chokwadi chasara apa ndurugare gumbo. And I don't know how people can persuade that old man to write a book. Where was Nikita Mangena? Nikita Mangena was Zipra. These are Zanlas. We are talking about Zanlas, Ray. These are Zanla forces, not Zipra forces. In the New Zimbabwe, Tokita Minister of Information, Dara Yud. Ameno, Komana. Shepherd Dude, Herbert Mahlava was there. Believe me, I'm reading a report. We might come across Herbert Mahlava. I'm not disputing that. We might come across him. We might come across him. Rex Nongwa came across him once, and that's all. So let's hear what happened during those trials. So Tongogara stood up, took over the floor, produced the papers, and started reading charges against the rebels. And the following people were named to have worked with the rebels. 1. Noel Mkono was named, member of the Dare. He was officers in the Dare. Noel Mkono was named. John Mataure was named. Herbert Chitepo was named as a suspect, but no evidence at the moment. But he was implicated in the uprising or the Nari rebellion. Members of the Chimurenga General Council who were named included Simpson Mtambanengwe, Joseph Masangomai, Bezel Chimbodza, Godfrey Chugware, kozi aingonzi Shumba uyu, koya Sekai Holland na Richard Hove. Ndakati MDC yanga yakagarwa Bamba. Sekai Holland, you know, Amai Holland vaya. She was a member of the of Chimurenga General Council, Mai Holland. She was a member of the Chimurenga General Council. Saka vanhu vakaona, they think is just an ordinary person in Zimbabwe. And she used to work with Morgan Tsvangirai. Obvious. It's known, obvious. If we say Morgan Tsvangirai died, we suspect that he was poisoned. And he had people like Wanasekai Holland around him. who were in the Chimurenga General Council of ZANU during the war. These were hardcore people, hardcore ZANUids in MDC. Pafunge batai rushaya mwesa msoro musodzi yoerera ipapa kuti vatsvangirai. He died mysteriously. And Sekai, Sekai Holland, yes, mbuya Holland ivo vaya vamunoziva mukoma fan. She was a member of the Chimurenga General Council yeZANU PF, yeZANU during the war. This is 1974-75. Seriously, Sekai Holland was a member of the Chimurenga General Council yeZANU during the war 1975. So kuti vakatofa vanogona kutoenda kuHeroesika mbuya vaya. Andidimona. So other officers who were named were in the field. Dakara Ibadza was named. Thomas Nari was named. Caesar Molife was named. Nephew Ndanga was named. Sifas Chatonga, Peter Sheba, Nasani Chandawa, and others were named as the leaders of the Nare rebellion. Officers in the province, Cornelius Sanyanga. Is it this? Oh, this one is Sanyatwe. There was Cornelius Sanyanga. He was also named. Officers in the district, kuna Nelson Zirun, kuna Miss Wove, kuna Miss Masango Mai. Officers of the branches, kuna Stanley Parirewa na Edgar Madekurozwa. These were people Tongogara accused of having led the Nari rebellion. So on Thursday, the 23rd of January, John Mataure, a leading suspect, was brought to the meeting under guard, and the following allegations were leveled against him. Allegation number 1. He had organized a group which came to Lusaka to abduct people. 2. When the Nari group asked him to transport, he told them to go to the Ndangana. When they asked for a Land Rover from Ndangana, he gave them, and later he was kidnapped. 3. When he and Tongogara were meeting with the Nari group under the direction of Dare, the rebel group was saluting him and not Tongogara. 4. On the day when the Nari group went to Tongogara's house after kidnapping his family, they were driven there by Mataure. 5. He was seen with Zurun and others who belonged to the Manyika tribe, which meant that he was involved in organizing people tribally and regionally. According to the witnesses, these were the charges laid against John Mataure. Anziwewe Mataure patakaenda kumeeting neNhare rebellion, they were saluting iwewe vasinga salute inini Tongogara sei. This is Tongogara, we all say our hero, our hero, our hero. Can you see what Tongogara was doing during the war? According to the witnesses, Mataure tried to answer all the allegations as follows. He denied having organized the rebellion or cooperated with the rebel group. He admitted that he had contacts with the group with the knowledge of Dare, and he reported to Dare the contacts he had with the group. With regard to the kidnapping of Ndangana, Mataure said the Nari group came to him and asked him for transport, but he told them that he was not in charge of transport and that in any case they belonged to the military wing and their commander was Ndangana, who was present in Lusaka. They could go and ask anything from him. It was only the next day that he too learned that Ndangana and others were kidnapped. Point number 3. Concerning the allegation that he took the rebel group to Tongogara's house, he said that he found people outside his house holding guns and they ordered him into a room together with the Chiwota and the Kangai. He was told that he was under arrest. Later he was ordered to drive his own car at gunpoint, and there were some people and they said, "We are going to Tongogara's place because you have been appointed by Dare to be mediators in this affair. And now that Dare refused our demands and you no longer want to see us, we want you to go to the front for the meeting. We are going to take everybody there. First of all, we want you two. They drove to Tongogara's place. Mataure told the Chifombo meeting that Tongogara shouted that night saying, "So you are involved in this thing. You are leading them here." But Mataure explained that it was at gunpoint. Charges were read concerning other allegations such as organizing people on tribal basis. Mataure denied that and said that he was only carrying out his duties as political commissar. But if his activities were misunderstood, he asked for forgiveness. Guys, kanama tadza kunyasontsoti, this was my job. Then Mundregerao. Elton, laughing, how are you? Mundregerao. So charges were read similarly against all the accused who appeared before the Chimurenga General Council, and even those who did not appear had their charges read in absentia. In the words of Tongogara, those convicted before this tribunal received death sentences. Convicted persons were said to have been sentenced to go home, a euphemistic term meaning sentencing to die. So Tongogara was sentencing freedom fighters to go home. Tongogara would say, "You have been sentenced to go home, man." And that was a euphemistic term to mean you have been sentenced to death. This was Tongogara sentencing people to death during the war. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Tongogara we kneel down every day, pray. Tongogara mchakavu, Tongogara gambaredu. He was busy sentencing freedom fighters to death. Killing people during the struggle, war. I used to say, I love Tongogara. I used to say, I love the way he talked. I love the way he mobilized. I love the way. I did not know his dark side. I didn't know his dark side. That Tongogara was there, be sentencing people to go home. A euphemistic term that means go and die. He was definitely a bad boy. He was definitely a bad boy. He sentenced a lot of people to go die. Imagine. So persons sentenced to go home were later found buried in mass graves. Persons sentenced to go home were later found buried in mass graves at Chifombo and its environments. According to the evidence, when these bodies were exhumed after Chitepo's death, their hands and feet were tied, showing a system. You end up crying here. Because those freedom fighters who were sentenced to death or who were sentenced to go home, they were tied, their hands were tied and feet, and they were massacred. When they were massacred, they were buried in shallow graves in Chifombo. And these bodies were exhumed later after Chitepo was bombed. In Chigowe's own words before the commission, however, was found zigzagging and becoming a stumbling block in the path, should you suffer at the hands of the path. According to him, the path had taken a vow in the direction which was permanent and irrevocable, and so that executions at Chifombo were clearly in keeping with the party's vow. People were executed at Chifombo. I still remember someone sent me a message saying she doesn't know where her father went. There were executions at Chifombo. So your father could have been among the people who were tied from behind and executed at Chifombo. And but was he ever at the battlefield or rival team? He has never been at the battlefield. Never been at the battlefield. It was stated in this report initially that the likes of Ngogara we call heroes today, they've never been at the battlefield. He was busy boozing, smoking. Achitengera tungamira yanga ru battlefield, whiskey ne forge nema cigarettes. He never went to the battlefield. He was busy massacring Zimbabweans in Chifombo, massacring the freedom fighters. You understand? So up to today, this is their style. We had one member, MDC member in Mrewa. They tied him from behind, put a sack over his head, and the guy died in Mrewa. So these people were evil. They are still evil. They are evil. Because if we say they were evil, funny, we are trying to exonerate them. Since 1980, they've been killing Zimbabweans. And these people are evil. Their modus operandi is the same. Tying people from behind, burning them in houses. These people were evil. They were evil. So Tongogara also admitted that specific members of the party were sentenced to death in their absence at Chifombo. These included Simpson Mtambanengwe, Sanyanga, Santana, Mukono, Malianga, and the Madekuroja. I think Malianga is the one who was being asked by Gogoana Tau here. He was there, Malianga, and he was sentenced to death in absentia. Madekuroja was also sentenced to death in absentia. Most of these guys were Manikas who were sentenced to death. They were from they were Northeasterners. So the kidnapping of Madekuroja Because Madekuros was sentenced in absentia to go home. So he was kidnapped later on. What happened? The rebellion had been contained and the cadres had been neutralized. A vicious witch hunt characterized the period following the abortive rebellion. Real and imagined participants were rounded up by Karanga elements for retributive justice. Saka manyika wakanhongwa wakaunganidzwa nemakaranga zvikanzi nawo baya Morton Malianga. Was he Morton Malianga? Here they are just saying Malianga, but I read about this Malianga sometimes, so I'll check which Malianga was this one. I think it's Morton. Could be Morton Malianga. I'll check. There is Malianga somewhere where I read, but we'll come back to Malianga as we read to understand. As it came out in evidence, there was a blood revenge by Karanga elements who were then convinced beyond doubt that the rebellion was Manyika inspired. They believed that the Manyikas were out to eliminate them and usurp their positions. This was not to be, and as a result, sustained kidnappings, mass trials, and executions followed. As already related on or about the 16th of December 1974, John Mataure was arrested after being suspended from the Dare for his alleged involvement in the Nari rebellion. On the 17th of January 1975, Joseph Masango Mai, Richard Hove, and Chimboza were abducted at number 6 Fair Road, Lilanda, on the pretext that they were going to attend a meeting at a ZANU camp near Lusaka. In the end, they found themselves at Chifombo, where they were to appear before the Chimurenga General Council, which had been called to investigate the causes of rebellion. Masango Mai and Hove were only saved because their wives reported the disappearance of their husbands to the police and the OAU representative in Lusaka. On the 7th of February 1975, Muswa 7 February 1975, Edgar Madekurozwa was abducted outside Chitepo's house at number 150 Muramba Road, Chitepo South, Chilenge South, Lusaka. While ZANU members were being addressed there by the Reverend Ndabaningi Stole, former ZANU president. Edgar Madekurozwa had been sentenced to death in absentia for complicity in the ill-fated plans of the rebels and also for refusing to surrender the machine guns left at his house by Badza and others. He was battered to death. Edgar Madekurozwa was battered to death and buried in a shallow grave near Lusaka. According to the evidence, he was kidnapped by Chigowe and his group. Chigowe had been waiting in parked Land Rover at Chitepo's house for the purpose. So on the 7th of February 1975, Edgar Madekurozwa was abducted, battered to death, and buried in a shallow grave. This reminds me of one ZANU-PF cadre in Bulawayo, in Kala, who was also abducted by ZANU-PF people, battered to death, and buried in a shallow grave. This is their modus operandi. Čigowe confirmed in his evidence to the commission that he was Madekuroja. He saw Madekuroja at midnight on the day Reverend Stole was addressing the meeting at Chitepo's house. He insisted, however, that though he had a few days before spent a night with Chitepo at Madekuroja's house in order to see Madekuroja, he never said or did anything to Madekuroja. On seeing him at midnight that day outside Chitepo's house, according to one witness, who gave very positive evidence to the commission on this incident. Madekuroja was forced into a car and driven along Leopard's Hill Road by Čigowe and other named persons. A shallow grave was dug in the bush, and after that, Čigowe hit Madekuroja on the head with a pick. Hey, ndamboti vai vane moyo uripa vanochema nasi. Čigowe uyu akarowa Edgar Madekuroja nepik kukanya munhu nepik. Imagine kuchera munhu nepik, kuuraya munhu. This Čigowe hanzi akamurowa nepik 3 times. He died and they buried him there. The witness said that he was the person who had the Zambia police to... The witness said that he was the person who led the Zambia police to the spot and identified the shallow grave where Madekuroja had been buried. Imagine this Čigowe achichera munhu nepiki musoro katatu, kuuraya munhu ainzi Edgar Madekuroja, ndobva vamufusira mu a shallow grave. On the 8th of February 1975, a ZANU military cadre, ainzi Chikati, was abducted at the Lusaka International Airport while escorting an African National Council delegation. What particularly happened to Nari himself is not quite clear. According to Tongogara, when Nari was recaptured at Anzi Petauke, he was handed over to him personally for and on behalf of ZANU party by the Zambian authorities on the 7th of February 1975. Tongogara in turn took Nari to Chifombo and left him there. This was after the Chimurenga General Council meeting at Chifombo, at which Nari had been sentenced to death in his absence for leading the rebellion. It is believed that Nari was killed in Chifombo. And is this the same Masangomai who later was reported went missing in Mount Pleasant? This guy is seldom mentioned. He is said to have been a worker at UZ. I am not sure about this Masangomai. It's so sad. Chifombo was taken by Tongogara and killed in Chifombo. Thomas Nari was killed in Chifombo by Tongogara. So Simpson Mtambanengwe fled Zambia to escape a suspected kidnapping and went to Malawi. Noel Mkono, Secretary for External Affairs in the Dare, was also on the run as he was a wanted person. Rumors to the effect that Chitepo himself had been kidnapped were rampant in Lusaka about this time after his brief disappearance from Lusaka. Later, it was learned that he had gone to attend the Chimurenga General Council in Chifombo. according to the evidence of Remba, Chitepo looked really tough when he surfaced. He told Remba that he had neither eaten or drank anything for the time he was away. He is the one that was finally kidnapped and murdered at his house in 1978. This is so sad. This is the dark part of Zimbabwe history. The history of the Chimurenga. So composition of Dare and High Command before and after the rebellion. After the review conference of 1973, the following were appointed to the new High Command. Josiah Tongogara was Chief of Defense, I.O.M. Karanga. William Ndangana, Chief of Operation, now is corrected, I.O.M. Manyika. Mayor Urimbo, Political Commissar, I.O.M. Zezuru. Kletos Chigowe, the one who killed Munu, Nepiki. Kletos Chigowe. Chief of Intelligence, I.O.M. Karanga. Robson Manyika, Chief Camp Commander of all camps, I.O.M. Zezuru. Joseph Chimurenga, I.O.M. and the Field Commander Botswana border, Kushanganu. Rex Nongo, I.O.M. Field Commander Kuluwanga or Ebira. Akuso Zimbabwe. Kuluwanga ku Zimbabwe roguman. Help me, I don't know. I don't know ku Zimbabwe kunyika inonzi Luwangwa to Ebira. Look, I operate a Rex Nongo. Sheba Gava, I.O.M. Field Commander Karanga, I.O.M. Karanga. Justin Chauke, I.O.M. Chief of Logistics, I.O.M. Shangana. And the shame, the whole family was said to have kidnapped, disappeared, including their dogs, and were also missing. So it can be seen from the composition of the High Command that 5 were from the southeast and 4 from the northeast. As a result of these events, which took place in December 1974, the Dare, after the Chimurenga's General Council meeting of Chifombo, approached the nomination of additional members of the above High Command. The members were Vakabva vaiswa imomo Hondo, military attaché, and D. Machingura, Camp's political commissar. This is very painful history of Zimbabwe. Political commissar, Chimedza, provincial political commissar, Josiah Tungamirai, provincial political commissar, Southeast, D. Moyo, provincial political commissar, Southeast, S. and E. Nika Dzinashe, Camps Security and Intelligence, E. Seke, provincial security and intelligence, S. Chinomaropa, provincial security and intelligence, P. Mpunzarima, provincial security and intelligence, C. Dauramans, deputy logistics and supplies officer. As can be observed, all the additional nominated members came from the southeast region. By this time, all the members of Dare, with the exception of Chitepo, were from the southeast region. The entire composition of the High Command early shows a regional bias on the part of the Dare and High Command. This is episode 4, ladies and gentlemen. It was long, episode 4. Episode 4, Pandawan Vane, Hana Zagasimba, both chapter 5 of this report, which was commissioned by none other than President Kenneth Kaunda, His Excellency President Kenneth Kaunda of Zambia, Ndo vakaseta a commission of inquiry to investigate the death of Chitepo. So when they were investigating the death of Chitepo, they were asking witnesses some questions, vachiwana evidence. So this is what the commission gathered before Chitepo was assassinated. This was happening before Chitepo was assassinated. Manzwa kuti anzi Chigowe uyu, Cleotas Chigowe, uyu ndiye akatora pik akapwanya Edgar Madekurozwa kutema katatu. Ndofunga mhuri yekwaMadekurozwa kwairi kana vanga vasingazive zvakaitika kumwana wavo. This is what happened to Edgar Kurozwa, was killed naChigowe nepik, kuita kumuchera nepik katatu, vakachera a shallow grave, they buried him there. So these are the people we say today are freedom fighters who were busy massacring other people, other freedom fighters during the war. A lot of people went there. They never returned. They never saw a free Zimbabwe. The Zimbabwe that they went out to fight for, they never saw it. They never seen it. Until today, some people do not even understand where their relatives are. They were busy being massacred by Tongogara at Chifombo. They were being massacred by these idiots. This is the history that is omitted in your history books. Go read about the struggle for Zimbabwe. This has never been written anywhere. This is the stuff people making history omitted from us portray ZANU-PF as people's part. Exactly. This history that I've given you today, ladies and gentlemen, you will never see it in your history books. You will never see it. They will never write this in history books. The truth is never told of the shenanigans of ZANU-PF during the war. Sakaropa harina kudeuka, deugwana varunguka. Ndopa munoona vachitaura kuti mabhunu akaipa, mabhunu akatiuraya, mabhunu akaita sei. This has shown that mabhunu akanga vasipo kuChifombo when people were being massacred. Mabhunu were not there kuMozambique when people were massacred. Kana mabhunu akazoenda kunourayawo vakanga vaona imi muchiuraya. And they went there to kill our people. Because you were killing our people. These people are pure murderers for sure, Joshua. They are pure murderers. Imagine Edgar Madekurozwa akacherwa nepiki musoro katatu, vakachera guva rishalo, they buried him there. This history has never been spoken elsewhere. It has never been written elsewhere. This is the raw history of the Chimurenga. Chuya iwe utongesha. Andisukuya kuzotonga. Regai ndite zvandakanzi ndite. Because someone akantaura akati, Shepherd, you survived. Not because you are clever, but God wanted you to survive and tell us what happened. So I survived to tell you this. Probably if I finish doing this, I'm going to die. You never know. But I've left this for you, ladies and gentlemen. I've left a true history for Zimbabwe. Even if I die today, the Zimbabweans will listen to these videos a million years to come. These videos will still be on YouTube. So I'm going to upload these videos on YouTube, so that generations and generations will use these videos even in class to really understand what transpired during the war around the 70s, where ZANU cadres were killed like flies by vanhu vanga vasina kumboenda ku front. All these people were told Magamba, they've never been to the front, guys. They were busy killing Magamba kuhondo vachiti mabhunu. Mabhunu auya kuzouraya varivo vari kuuraya. You understand? So now people have got an eyesight. You now know what transpired during that time. Saka, this is episode what? Episode 4. Episode 5, it's about Chitepo, a captive. It's a very small, I think about 2 pages. Chitepo captive. I can read this one. Then ndozomira but the death of Chitepo. Ipapo ndo patinozo ita episode 5. So let me continue. Can I continue or you are tired, ladies and gentlemen? I can't force myself to smile although I want to smile. This is so sad. Black chapter of our struggle war. No black chapter of our struggle. And ndifungoti pane pazvakamboitika in the history of Zimbabwe. Even vanambuya nehanda chaivo chaivo. Vanambuya nehanda chaivo chaivo. Havana kubva vambobayana nemapfumo like zvaiitika nguva dzehondo. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking you, can I continue? Tozomira takuzoenda pakufa kwa Chitepo. Can I continue? Continue nenge iri kuwina. Continue nenge iri kuwina. Famba emgoma ndatenda. So let me continue. Kutizonzwa kuti tanzwa kuurayiwa kwevana veZimbabwe nanaTongogara. Avarume havana kuenda kuhondo varakomana. Ndo vaingotenderera munana Mozambique vachitora mahure, vachinwa whisky, vachibhema dzifodya. They've never fought in the war. They've never fought in the war, ladies and gentlemen. So this has challenged them today. I wish people would download this and give it to Mnangagwa. Download this and give it to Chiwenga. Because this has challenged them. It has challenged them. These killings were not done by the white people. But if you hear them talking about white people, they don't even talk about their killings. The way they killed Zimbabweans during that war. They don't say it out. They try to paint that all the bad things were done by the whites. Honestly, Zimbabweans, thank you, Amidu. ZANU-PF does not deserve respect. I'm surprised to see some people respecting ZANU-PF for the killing of the Naris at Chifombo, burying people in shallow graves. They continued the killings after war. The killings spilled into Zimbabwe. They went to Matabeleland. Because they were massacres, they were killers. They started massacring people down there. This is why I'm saying the truth in Matabeleland killings hasn't been explored yet. If the truth is explored, it will be a sad chapter like this that occurred around 70s. So let me continue. Ladies and gentlemen. Let me continue as you requested. So this is, they never wanted freedom. So this is now Chitepo living under captive. Because rumors had spread that Chitepo had been abducted. And Chitepo said he was at Chifombo attending a meeting. When Chitepo resurfaced, he told them, I had eaten nothing for days and I had nothing to drink for days. So it confirmed that Chitepo was also abducted. This is the Chitepo that they sing on daily basis. That he was our hero and the hero that they murdered. My hero, avaiuraya. Anzina atete peshi mkoma shepi. Magambona panobirwa mbava. Mavaviro acho. Ndo zvavari kuita izvozvi. So, we are still in episode 4. We are looking at how Chitepo, hanzi bhuku iro ramuri kuerenga rinowanika here panet erinonzi ariwanike panet. This is a report, a commission report that was commissioned by Zambia's president. And for me to get this book, it's a report. For me to get this report, rakauya amen anchatauri how we got this book, how we got this report. But some Zambians, some Zambian officials, they felt that if we don't know this history, then we don't know the truth of the matter. We don't know Zimbabwe. Saka, this is how we got this material. We got this material through some diplomatic means for this report to be available or to be availed to you, ladies and gentlemen. To be availed to you, ladies and gentlemen. So let me continue. Chitepo, a captive, chapter 6 of the report. One of the concomitant results of the Nari uprising was the decision taken by the Nari to provide its members with bodyguards. Mukuzei Mudzi, Kangai, and Chigowe were assigned the function of allocating bodyguards, with the exception of Kangai and Amadziripi, who for reasons of lack of private transport facilities decided not to avail themselves for this privilege. The rest of the members of Dare were provided with bodyguards. Chitepo was by then under a heavy cloud. As already stated, after the Nari rebellion and the kidnapping, strong measures were taken by the Nari and the high command against the Nari group and their main suspected supporters. Some were sentenced to death and others disciplined by suspension or expulsion from the party. Some of these were not only Manikas but were also very close friends of Chitepo, while others were actually relatives of his. Moreover, there was evidence of his having assisted the Nare group through to a very small extent. He was also accused by other groups of favoring people from his own tribal group. After Chitepo was implicated at Chifombo, thought not found guilt, many of the militants did not trust him. They believed that he still had links with those who had suffered punishment. On the other hand, members of his own tribal group and his personal friends felt that he was condoning and even justifying gross injustice on his main supporters to please his enemies. They accused him of cowardice because he could not defend them and was even used to assist in capturing some of them. They were therefore shying away from him. Consequently, Chitepo was virtually a lone man after Chifombo. Akanga ega Chitepo. Hapana imbeliever kana akataura. Hapana akanga akutrusta Chitepo kana akataura. Hapana aitrusta Chitepo kana akataura. So Chitepo had 3 bodyguards, namely Silas Shamiso, Sadat Kufama Zuba, and Alec Dovi. Shamiso had been captured by the Nari group at Chifombo but was later rescued. Sadat had stayed at Tongogara's house before he went to live with Chitepo. At Tongogara's house, Sadat had learned all about the Nari rebellion and the degree of involvement of various persons, including Chitepo himself. Sadatu. Kana apa ndopungana topedza nyaya. Uyu Sadati ndiye akauraya Chitepo. Because aigara kumba kwaTongogara. Aiziva zvese zvakanga zvaitika kuNhare rebellion. But akazobva kumba kwaTongogara ndiye akanga bodyguard waChitepo. Imagine. And anymore, all 3 bodyguards stayed with Chitepo at number 150 Muramba Road, Chilenge South. From that time up to the morning of 18th March 1975. Both Shamiso and Sadat had full military training, including sabotage. Dovi, on the other hand, had only a rudimentary training. Sadat was not only a bodyguard, but also worked as a clerk receptionist at the Liberation Center in Lusaka. Dovi was Chitepo's cook. Hey, varumanga garika wakumana. Varumanga garika. Aitovena cookie. Lusaka kutonzi. Chikafu chinodyiwa waChitepo chinobikwa na Dovi. Dovanga akangorwa chiwangu wangu chekubhodha gezi chiwangu wangu. Mumwe uyu Sadat was a saboteur. Akakatrainwa sabotage, full military training. Papa kaipa wakomana. So Chitepo was surrounded. Another striking feature about these bodyguards was that while Tongogara and other members of Dare knew their guards well, even knowing their representatives' homes in Zimbabwe, Chitepo neither knew his guards nor did he know their real names. This is the issue, like Morgan Tsvangirai's issue when he became Prime Minister of Zimbabwe. He was just being sent Masiya Wokunumgada, and he didn't even know their names. Didn't even know them. There was just CIOs sent to guard Morgan Tsvangirai. Imagine. Chitepo knew that his bodyguards were simply spies for his colleagues in the Dare, not unnaturally. Therefore, Chitepo did not want these guards around him and frequently referred to them as a burden and dirty. According to the evidence, Chitepo wanted to divest himself of these bodyguards, but he was powerless. He had become virtually impotent. The commission found from evidence that these guards played the role of spies on Chitepo rather than guarding him in the true sense of the word. This reminded me of Morgan Komichi, who was always with President Nelson Chamisa, and when the judgment was handed down, Komichi said, "I was all along spying on this young man." This is the same modus operandi that was used by ZANU on Chitepo. Is the same that they used on Chamisa na Morgan Komichi. Morgan Komichi was spying on the young man ever since, and he was very close to Chamisa, playing a neutral boy, playing a loving father. Achitaura pavanhu, I will never abandon my young man, whilst he was spying on Chamisa. This is exactly what Sadat was doing in Shamiso. Shamiso and Sadat were spies that were sent to guard Herbert Chitepo. It's so pathetic, ladies and gentlemen, so pathetic. So the commission found from evidence that these bodyguards, they played a role of spying on Chitepo rather than guarding him in the true sense of the word. To his private conversations with friends and relatives, and seldom allowed him to go anywhere alone, Chitepo had become a captive in the hands of his colleagues in the Dare. Sometime prior to his death, Chitepo was observed by friends close to him and those who knew him intimately to be laboring under stress of a kind that made him behave unusually strange. They could not understand how a man of such stable character and balanced judgment could stoop to doing things quite at variance with his avowed and acknowledged principles. Those of the witnesses from the commission who were in a position to judge the man, such as Remba, Zengeni, Sanyanga, Mtambanengwe, Richard Hove, and Chikerema, to name a few, concluded that he was no better than a captive, a hostage, and a virtual prisoner in the hands of his colleagues in Dare. He was frightened and behaved irrationally, quite altogether unlike himself. In short, Chitepo lived in a cloud of perpetual fear and seemed to have become a victim of self-incrimination. That is, a sense of corroding remorse for having acted against his better judgment. Something gave enough to cause a disintegration of the man's personality. In a number of ways, according to witnesses, he might have lost his thinking. His fellow Manyikas, like Sanyanga, Ziruni, and Mtambanengwe, mistrusted him, for it appeared to them that Chitepo was aiding and abetting their adversaries, the Karangas, in kidnapping and disposing of them. Instances of this are the covering up statements about disappearance of party members such as Madekurozwa and Matauri, whom he knew to have been killed. When he asked by the Zambian authorities about these people, Chitepo assured them that they were all alive and well. There were also the trials of Chifombo, over which Chitepo presided, of people who had taken part in the mutiny or been a part to it. Some of these were summarily sentenced to death and others arbitrarily punished. It was hard for them to believe that a man like Chitepo could have gone to such lengths in the absence of duress or cohesion. Chitepo's trip to Malawi. So sad, ladies and gentlemen. This is the sad chapter in the history of the struggle for Zimbabwe. On the 4th March 1975, Chitepo went on a trip to Malawi. He was accompanied by Hamadziripi and Chigowe. Do you know Chigowe is the one who kuchera munhu musoro nepiki? Kuchera munhu musoro nepiki, Chigowe. He accompanied Chitepo to Malawi. According to the evidence of Hamadziripi, that took the decision, and Tongoga, who was in Dar es Salaam at the time, gave approval. Chitepo told some witnesses that he had gone to Malawi to arrange for his mother-in-law to travel from South Africa to meet his family in Malawi. But he informed the Malawi authorities that he was seeking help in the matter of food and other essential materials needed at the front. Dopa unonzwa maZimbabweans achita kandoranze bwidi rakakupa chikafu chekudya vanhu vekuZimbabwe. Bwidi rakakubatsira hondo kuti hondo yenyu imire zvakanaka muZimbabwe itorwe nyika. Nhasi maakumira muchiti mabwidi muchituka vanhu vekuMalawi, maZimbabweans. Munogutisa naye. Hama dzangu dzemuZimbabwe dzogutisa. Makukanganwa manje kuti Malawi ndio yaikupa chikafu. He went to Malawi to look for food, to feed your freedom fighters who were fighting on the front. In reality, as subsequently became clear, Chigowe had gone to act as a bodyguard to Chitepo, who at this time had become a virtual prisoner. The link in the chain of guards on Chitepo did not break. Normally, he moved with his bodyguards, Shamiso and Sadat. Whenever Chitepo went to State House in Lusaka, for instance, he left his normal bodyguards behind, and Gumbo or Okangai took their place. Inzwai wakomana, mdara rugare Gumbo ndiye ayenga kuita bodyguard raChitepo. Achiti kana Chitepo ana Sadat nawo wakasara rugare Gumbo nakanga opinda ipapo kumeka sure they monitor this guy is killed. Vanhu vane utsinye wakomana. Cheyuda tikuvataurira vanhu ava kuti mabranda yamotiti mabwini mabranda, we fed you during the war. We fed you guys. So when Chitepo, Hamadziripe and Chigowa arrived in Malawi on the 4th of March 1975, Hamadziripe was detained at the Blantyre airport by customs officials, while Chitepo and Chigowa proceeded to hotel lodgings at the Shire Highlands Hotel. Shire River, Mshakwanguko. When they later got in touch with the airport, they learned that Hamadziripe was in police custody at police headquarters Kuzomba. In Malawi, Chitepo got in touch with the Blantyre business of Zimbabwe origin Ekaranga and the brother-in-law Simpson Mtambanengwe and arranged a meeting with him at the hotel. They had discussions about the state of the part in Lusaka, and Chitepo expressed a desire to see Mtambanengwe, a member of the Chimurenga General Council and ex-member of the Dar, who had fled Zambia and sought asylum in Malawi. They were, however, prevented from continuing their discussion by Chigowe's entry. An opportunity to talk to Mtambanengwe was made possible when Chigowe wanted medical treatment for stomach trouble. The businessman offered to take him to a private doctor in Blantyre. On the way, the businessman managed to extract revealing information from Chigowe about the state of affairs in the ZANU-PF party in Lusaka. Meanwhile, Chitepo was afforded a chance to talk to Mtambanengwe. Chigowe pressed the businessman to disclose the whereabouts of Mtambanengwe. This aroused the suspicion of the businessman and led him to conclude that all was not well in ZANU. While waiting to see the doctor, the businessman got out of Chigowe. The names of the people whom the part, meaning Chigowe himself and the Karanga leaders in that, was out to eliminate by death. Chigowe wrote the names on a piece of paper which he tore from a magazine he found in the waiting room. Chitepo's name appeared prominently at the top, followed by the names of the Manyikas. The following were the names of the list, which was later handed to Malawi police. Malawi police. Sekuru Manuno. Chitepo ainza aurawe. Mtambanengwe ainza aurawe. Sekai Holland ainza aurawe. Madekurozva ainza aurawe. John Mataure ainza aurawe. Sanyanga, Dziruni, Sandana, George, Mukono na Mautsa. The only Nani Manyika name on this list was that of Sekai Holland, who lives with her husband in Australia. Miss Sekai Holland is a Zimbabwean and was a representative of ZANU in Australia. Her crime, according to the evidence, was that she was neutral in the struggle between the Manyikas and the Karangas for the control of ZANU. According to evidence, she had been accused by Hamadziripe of failing to support him in his secret bid for the chairmanship of the Dare in the 1973 Biennial Review Conference. The police in Blantyre acted on information received and arrested both Chitepo and Chigowe. Chigowe was subsequently released, but Chigowe remained in custody. I think Chitepo was subsequently released and Chigowe remained in custody. When Chitepo was released, the Malawi authorities told him that he was lucky to be alive on the company of friends who had gone to Malawi with him, 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦 and 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦. He was said in Mapurisa, Mdara Chitepo, takuriliza, tavarira tsoko. You are lucky to be alive. After the arrest of 𝗘𝗣𝗦, Chitepo held a second and more lengthy interview with Mtambanengwe. When 𝗘𝗣𝗦 was shown a photostat copy of the list of names by the commission and asked whether he wrote them, he replied that writing seems to be mine, but the name Chitepo was not there. Although Chitepo's name was in his handwriting, 𝗘𝗣𝗦 disclaimed authorship. According to 𝗘𝗣𝗦, he had written down the names of persons who were found by the party to be involved in the Nari rebellion. He denied telling the businessmen that the party had decided to eliminate them. Asaka tribalism do yanga iri yawo. My Holland vange vari kuzana. I'm surprised. Munopera kufa a blessing. My Holland chakazi chama winya mzanu, chama winya. Varidzi vezanu. Andi mukunzwa. Vanaseka Holland va. Mozoti anzi vanga yakati chenja azviite zviya. Andiri mono. So the businessman was impressive in his evidence, but the commission noted a great deal of prevarication on the part of 𝗘𝗣𝗦 regarding the list. The commission is satisfied that 𝗘𝗣𝗦 wrote the names in question in the circumstances described by the businessman and for the reasons ascribed to 𝗘𝗣𝗦. 𝗘𝗣𝗦 had gone to Malawi, in fact, armed, according to the businessman. It was also alleged by some witnesses that 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦 was also armed, but this was not confirmed by the Malawi authorities. 𝗘𝗣𝗦 had told the businessman that he was on a mission in Malawi to secure the surrender to ZANU of Mtambanengwe, but the Malawi government, they wanted the Malawi government to surrender Mtambanengwe to ZANU. Failing that, he would shoot him on sight. The other alternatives were to send a death squad from Lusaka to eliminate him or arrange with the Frelimo comrades in Mozambique to kidnap him. As related earlier, after the businessman and 𝗘𝗣𝗦 had left to see the doctor, Chitepo was able to have a private talk with Mtambanengwe without interference by 𝗘𝗣𝗦. Mtambanengwe was left with the impression after the meeting with Chitepo that the latter had undergone a change in behavior that was altogether unlike him. He concluded that Chitepo was not a free man. Before leaving Malawi for Lusaka on the 8th of March 1975, Chitepo left the following note in his own handwriting, with the Malawi authorities advising against the release of his colleagues held in custody, 𝗘𝗣𝗦 and 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦. Chitepo akanyora, don't release the idiots, lock them forever. So this is the letter that was left by Chitepo to Malawi authorities. Chitepo wrote that, "Dear Mr. Muwalo, after a very useful meeting which you so kindly arranged and considering all the developments, it is my view that the longer the two are held, the more chance there is of rectifying so many things which are wrong in the party. They are, we believe, engaged in diabolical scheme which could wreck the struggle." On Chitepo's return, no vice Zanyorad SGD HW Chitepo. On Chitepo's return to Lusaka, the Dare and the High Command were shocked to hear of the arrest of 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦 and 𝗘𝗣𝗦 and suspected that Chitepo had betrayed his colleagues to the Malawi authorities. Chitepo was therefore forced to send a special letter of approval to the life president of Malawi, urging the release of these same men, a thing quite inconsistent, not to say contradictory, with his previous conduct in the matter. After the trip, Chitepo became more solicitous about his personal safety and security. In his special meetings and interviews with people like Sanyanga and Mark Chona, and eventually with the Zambian president himself, a note of personal fear ran throughout. His Excellency, the President, Dr. 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦𝗢𝗓𝗓, had offered him protection of the Chitepo, promised to avail himself should it become imperative. However, even at the last moment and in imminent peril to his life, Chitepo could not make up his mind. This was chapter 4 and 5, chapter 5 and 6, ladies and gentlemen, which constituted episode 4 of this matter. So this is the end of chapter 6. Chapter 7 is about the death of Chitepo. So we cannot continue because let's put it episode 5, where we are going to hear what really transpired to Chitepo. So chapter 4 and 5, it spoke about Chitepo at length, that Chitepo was given my bodyguards, Sadat and the other one, Sadat was a trained saboteur, as good as Mnangagwa, I think, and the other one, Shamiso, was also a fully trained freedom fighter, a saboteur. And Kuki wake aibikira Chitepo, Kuki, aina makuki wakumana. Aibikira Chitepo, ainzidovi, angango tukachi wangu. So these guys, vaiti kana vakuenda, Chitepo kana vakuenda kunoona 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦𝗢𝗓, aienda, aiva asiyana Sadat na Shamiso, otakura Kangai na mdara Rugare Gumbo. Rugare Gumbo is still alive. Amaisekai Holland is still alive. Vanhu ava vakanga vakaronga kuuraya Chitepo. And mabodyguards ake paakaenda nawo kuMalawi vakasvika vakavharirwa. Chitepo akasiya vataura kuti mbovabata imbichana ndozokuudzai zvekuita. But few weeks later, he wrote a letter to Hastings Kamuzu Banda to release them. Ladies and gentlemen, ndo nyaya yamaona ya Chitepo. Nyaya ya Chitepo wakomana yakaoma nyaya iyi. Baba vakanga yangove mombe yemashanga, anabaya wabaya vachida kubaya zvavo. Chitepo akanga asina kwekutizira kana kwekuenda. Vakanga akungofamba vachifamba naye vachida kumubaya. Hanzi dai tangopedza kozi zvange zvotapira ipapa taziva kuti zvakazodii. Ndo patiri kusiya, I'm leaving you hanging shine. So that tomorrow we meet. I think tomorrow we are going to start with the death of Chitepo mangwana. Then the aftermath of Chitepo's death, tozombomira, tozoenda the findings of commission. So I know now people are eager to know chichakazofasira, chichakaitika after afa, ndozvatava kunzwa muepisode 5. Chitepo akanga ari pama 1. Ndopa muri kuona izvino zvakuti Chitepo raive gamba. Inini ndaifarira tongogara sterei. Ndaiti kana ndikanzwa kunzi tongogara muchakabvu, tinotenda nebasa ramaita. Saka ndakatadza kuti basa racho rakaitwa natongogara nderipi. This report has bared it all. Tongogara never went to war. Aingotenderera Mozambique, Zambia, Tanzania, Mozambique, Zambia, Tanzania. Achita basa risiri rake, but angari chief of defense. Aifana kuziva kuti vanhu vanenge vari kuita musango muhondo chichiri kuitika. I remember Rugare Gumbo saying Kenneth Kaunda didn't like us. Now I see why he was, yeah. Kenneth Kaunda didn't like them because they were busy kuriza pfuti my locations. Kenneth Kaunda gave them my bases. Akawapa prize zanu. And tomorrow 8 o'clock Mkoma Brighton. 200 hours UK time, we meet the same time tomorrow. Then we discuss this matter. Chitepo, Kenneth Kaunda gave them everything, these people. Zakati tai, but they did not listen. They were busy with the put my location bomb on. So how do you like such type of people? You tell them we want to fight the whites. Instead of them fighting the whites, they are fighting amongst themselves. They are busy killing each other. The major causes that made Kaunda hate Zanla forces was that because they were ever fighting on themselves. Ma mass graves, unaona kuri Zimbabwe, unganzwa kunzi uyu munhu chigowawo akapwanya munhu nepik. Ku Zimbabwe murder is not pardonable. And I don't know why Zambian government did not arrest these idiots. They were supposed to have arrested them and incarcerated them. How can you take someone, go and murder? Losaka muri kuona izvinezvi vari kungouraya vanhu muZimbabwe. Vanhu havane ropa maoko, they don't care. This is why you see they don't even care about nyika yaora sei. What they care is toda kutonga 2030 tinge tichipo. What are you doing up to 2030? Because you were busy killing people during the war. And you've got blood dripping in your hands. You are vampires. Then you are saying 2030 chichipo. Muchiite 2030 yacho, if I ask you. Mangwana Liverpool icharanga chet. I'm not sure. Tomorrow sha. Tunaona mangwana, guys. Whenever you watch a bora, you watch the football, then you watch this video later on. So for today, I think I'm not going for a recap. I've spoken a lot. Let me call it quits. Episode 1, 2, and 3, they've been uploaded now on YouTube. Those who did not subscribe to Shepherd Yudas YouTube, you go on YouTube, subscribe, and you watch. Episodes the full length of it. So you go on YouTube. Episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. They are now uploaded on YouTube. You go there, you listen. This is episode 4. Episode 5, 9. So ndoda move well informed. Musanyeperwe nezanu. Takarwa hondo. Apana hondo yavairwa vanhu varipo izvinezvi havana hondo yavairwa. Vairwa hondo vanga vari musango vachirwa hondo. They busy humanizing, drinking whiskey, vachismoka, vachitsvagana kuti uri enemy ndiani, vachipfura vanhu vachiunganidza vanhu mass graves. Hanziko na sekuru na Wastole na tinotenda Stole hanzi video yachidhumo na Masendeke ndo yandunza kuno. Oh, thank you so much. Nyaya yachidhumo na Masendeke, it is by public demand. Saka ndichazodzokera futi so that people ndonyatsoidodonya now in detail kuti vanhu vanyatsonzwisa. I know ndakaidodonya in detail, but vamwe vanhu vane ma-questions avanongaida kuziva. People still ask me kuti ko chidhumo na Masendeke hanzi vanhu vachiri kuconfusana zvaitaurwa nemubhanditu yavo. Ndakati guys, ndakateerera mumwe musungwa hanzi ex-prisoner achitaura about chidhumo and Masendeke achiti ndakamastermind. That is not true. That is not true. That boy had even no guts to mastermind such an escape. Escape yaya yakangorongwa all of a sudden. It was not a thing that chairongwa on daily basis, but it was all of a sudden chete. Nenyaya yekuti officer vaivemo muyard maive nemunhu wana aimena yard paakadaidzirwa phone nemubanditi. Mubanditi akamudaidzira phone ainzi person love. Ndiye akatosvika akati chef murudiwa kufoni. Saka officer pawakazobuda grill gate rekutanga, vachienda grill gate rechipiri, vachienda grill gate rechitatu, amuna mumwe munhu akauya kuzomurelifa imomo. So prisoners vanga vava vega. Ndopa vakatanga kukwidzana vachienda pahwindo rakanga rakapwanywa napesi. Same pesi wandiri kutaura yepesi in love akamboita problem yekuti aida kuona officer in charge, vanhu vakamurambidza kuona officer in charge, magadhi vakamurambidza. Vamurambidza kudaro pesi akagumbuka akatora nyatira rake akatema hwindo ndobva rapwanyika. Saka kupwanyika kwakaita hwindo harina kugadzirwa, raingonyorwa matsamba vanhu inonzi yemaintenance, ministry yemaintenance yayo vachiti vachauya kusvika pazoitika that escape. Ndo same hwindo rakapinda naro naChidhumo. Makapinda Chidhumo, mukapinda Chauke, mukapinda Pedzi, mukapinda Nguluve, vari 4 ndo mabhanditi akatiza iwayo. Uyo pesi akatadza kutiza bhozi ayo nemusoro wangu akaita porridge, he couldn't climb or go there. Saka akasara pesi hana kwakaenda. Uyo mbanditi wekuti aida kutizawo, I don't think kuti dai aida kutiza hapana chaimukonesa ipapo. Anditi maona. Saka kwakungotaurawo kungonyepawo ngonzi ndinzi ndini, but the truth is he did never and aungati iwewe kana waita mastermind with such a massive escape, prison services yokutora iwewe musungwa aita mastermind such, hanzi akati magadhijere vakazozvidiscover later kuti ndini andaita mastermind, saka vakabva vandibvisa vakanisa kwaMutare prison. That will never happen in the prison services. That unobva kuChikrubi maximum prison woenda lesser maximum prison uriwe mastermind an escape. That will never happen. Because ukatarisa kuti grade chi Mutare prison okombea negrade re maximum prison, wonzi musungwa a mastermind escape nomubvisa maximum prison momuendesa lesser maximum prison. That will never happen in the prison services. Hazviitike izvozvo. Hamendi jeri rekupi raitaura. Saka hakuna zvakadaro. Iyo ndiye mishonga, tisanyeberane nemakonspiracy ekunyepa. Ndo chokwadi chatakutaura ichi. Chokwadi choburwa pano. Hakuna musungwa anobviswa a mastermind escape momubvisa maximum prison. Momisa kajeri kekuti pamwedzi wongwa kunenge kune magajeri to the whole prison. Hazviitike zvakadaro. Once wangocheka jeri watove D class. Ndakanzwa kutaura maclasses emaprisoners. Pana umwe futi anzi officer aita nhandiri nesi here, ndakasenderwa video yake achitaura kuti hanzi anga ari nesi achitaura zvema-G class. Hakuna zvakadaro kuprison. KuZimbabwe prison services kune 4 classes of prisoners chete, no any other prisoner. Kune 4 classes. Kuma-D class ndokwamunozo classify vamwe muchivati mastage. Vanenge mukaenda kuChikrubi maximum munoona vamwe nezvemachevron zvinenge zvemasargent nemakoporo nechi, vaiva vanenge vakunzi mastage. Haisi class yemaprisoners, mastage ayaya. We have got only 4 classes of prisoners kuprison services. Kuna A class. A class uyu haapiwe security yakanyanya. A class no mabhandita munoona ane chi-A chitsvuku. Mukafamba ukasvika pajeri ukaona mubhandita akaiswa chi-A, the A class iyeye. A class iye unogona kumutuma unotenga chingwa anodzoka. Unomutuma unotenga fodya, kutengera fodya anodzoka. Ndo vanofudza mombe, hapana havagadwe, vanofudza mombe vachingotenderera jeri, vachitendera majeri vari musango vega, vanodzoka vega vai. Vanopuwa time yekunzi nguva dzakati munhu wese anofanira kuva pano. And hanzi muri kutigonera mngoma now, we know the truth. Ndo chokwadi. Saka A class, musungwa anonzi A class. Musungwa anonzi A class haagadwe, haapuwe security, haateerwe nemugadi. Andi mugonzi anofamba ega mukaenda pajeri nomabhandita amotuma kuti inontorerawo mukaka, kana inontorerawo nyama, kana enda kujeri unontorerawo chibage nenzara. Wakagara hako wakagadha injini, unotaurira musungwa kuti shamwari mhanya unontorerawo chibage ndoda kugocha. Anomhanya unotora chibage wotouya kugochera wokupa wodya. A class. A class inenge shamwari yagadhi, iziso remugadi jeri. Upenyu hunenge hwakamunakira pajeri, anodya zvaanoda, anorarama upenyu hwaanoda. A class harwadziwe nejeri. Hakuna kubasa kwaanoenda. Andi mukunzwa. Saka ukaenda ku remand prison vanopfeka makakaya auwane A class ikoko. Munhu asati atongwa will never be classified as an A class, never. Munhu asati atongwa will never be classified as a B class, never. Ma B class ndo amunoona mune malesi zvakaita kumutare prison kwaitaura mubhanditu yavo. Kunoenda ma B class kana kwatoenda ma D class kumutare vandotransferwa kunzi ngavaende kuchikurubi kana kucentral prison. Munogona kuvachengeta for a short period of time, but you transfer them to a better security prison, ma D class. Saka vana mutare prison munowanika ma A class nema B class prisoners. Very rare kuwana mu C class imomo. Because ma C class vanhu vanenge C and D, they are almost the same, they are almost similar, and they are classified C and D because of their crime. Ukaona munhu wese ane murder mu D class, rape mu D class, armed robbery mu D class. Because they are attempted, attempted murder netumwe tumhosva tokuti unongoti munhu akaba mombe. Ukuba mombe unoenda mu D class kana kuenda mu C class. Saka zvinosiyana neclassification. Plus classification imwe kana uri convicted unoenda nesentence yako. Haufe uri mu D class. Unobva mu D class opinda mu C class. Obva mu C class unoenda mu B class. Ukaona mubhanditi akubva mu D class achienda mu B class anenge achipururudza because anoziva kuti life yaanani. Ndo vanenge vakuenda kumunda kunorima. Vamunoona vachinorima vachimbumura guruwa ma B class aya. Hakuna C class anoenda kunombumura guruwa, hakuna. C and D, they are always locked up mujeri. Kana vachiburuswa vanopinda muyadhi nongodzokera musero. B and A anenge achifamba ega tichimutuma, ma B achirwa pasi vachitsika. Ukaona ma escapes anoitika kujeri kazhinji ma D, C ne B. Ma A class ukazomuzwa kunzi atiza jeri uwanda kuti atiza chiharohwi, hatukwi, haana chaanoita anoyanguwadza anoda kujeri. Kana kuswera katembeya dzake anovhura mbeya dzake kutozvibikira sana. Unoona A class acho yakabata mhembwe, shefu ndabata mhembwe, ngatichekeranei nanhape kuchengetera nyama. Handimona hanzi murudzisa chokwadi chatiri kuda kuziva chaizvo mukoma. I really love your truth about Zimbabwe. I love Zimbabwe, that's my country. Munhu mumwe anoziva zvese pamachinda ayo bvuma, it was works of dark worlds. Ndo chokwadi. Saka that is exactly what happened. Saka ndaitaura nevamwe vanhu vaitaura chikurubi, ndikati guys inzwai, the only person anogona kuziva chikurubi maximum kuti yakamira sei yese mugadhijere. Because mugadhijere iwo nhasi uri mutawa, mangwana uri pamagrill gates, mangwana uri muyadhi, mangwana unenge uchichinjwa maduties pekushandira. Duty rekutovhura gedhi nekii ritori duty, unotochonzi wewe ndo uri pagedhi rakati, uri kumena gedhi rakati, uri kuenda kubiwa, uri kuenda kudiwa, uri kuenda kusiwo. Saka mugadhijere uenda apa akuziva jeri rese, noti musungwa. Kuna mabhanditi ari ma-life in prison, ma-life prisoners aya anogona kugara pachikurubi maximum paipa agere mu-FB1 kana mudi home, haatombozivi the whole prison. Saka musanyeperwe nevanhu vasingazive masystems ekuprison kuti munobvunza vanhu vanoziva vanokudzai. Handisi ndega ndoziva a lot that happens in prison. Every prison officer knows, but because vamwe vangu havana access to this media, vamwe vangu vachirimo like muservice, they are not allowed to talk this. Akangotaura izvozvi chete andosungwa kana basa roto andodzingwa basa. Saka vanonyatsoziva chigadhijere chacho, madhara chaicho anonyatsokutaurirai, vamwe vacho havanototya kuzvitaura because you swear, you take oath kuti kanyange ndikazobuda basa izvi zvandaona muno muprison handiburitsi pachena, handizvitauri. Saka vazhinji vacho they are bound by the oath. Isu tiri ma-rebels ona. Saka tinongotaura kuti vanhu vazive, musanyanya kutya kana kurwa nehana kuti zviri zvinozoitika kujeri ye kunozoita setokuudzai panapa. Handiti manzi. Saka for that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a topic for another day. When you have got questions, you come to my inbox. So what I encourage you is you go on YouTube, pa Shepherd Yuda channel, then you subscribe, you watch all these videos. Enjoy yourself, ladies and gentlemen. I salute you. Regard you, Dana, as I've learned a lot than I did in my history lesson. Thanks Ngoma Mavura. So thank you so much. Musanyeperwa takaenda kuhondo vaingotenderera muZambia vaya. Thank you so much guys. Enjoy your day. Good night.